Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Vancouver Rain Draft to Glory franchise mode here in MLB The Show 23. So, unfortunately, in last episode in the ALCS, we managed to lose this series against the White Sox in a very hard-fought 7 games. We were very close to actually getting our way to the World Series, but we just barely lost off of a couple hits in the bottom of the ninth and then a walk-off. So unfortunately, we lost one game, and that forced to Game 7. In Game 7, we only lost by 1 run. I think this team definitely kind of outperformed what I was expecting, because I didn't expect this team to go super far, but we knocked out Minnesota in the wild card. We knocked out Toronto easily in the ALDS, and we almost beat a good team in the White Sox to get to a World Series. But unfortunately, that is not what's going to happen this season. But hopefully that happens maybe next season or the season afterwards, because this team is just beginning its playoff hopes and dreams. As you can see right now, though, the World Series is the White Sox in Arizona. I don't know if we would have had a chance against an Arizona team, because Arizona is a very deep roster. I never showed you guys their roster, but I'll show you it just because you could see what we could have went up against, and I don't think we would have stood a chance against this team. You could see their pitching rotation absolutely filthy. Their bullpen is also pretty damn solid too. And then if you go to their actual lineup itself, it is also really, really good. You can see all these 80s and 90s, and even their bench players are really good too. So I don't know if we would have stood a chance against this Diamondbacks team. I don't know how they were a wild card team, but I don't think we would have stood a chance against them. Even if we were able to get past the White Sox, we probably would have lost in the finals. So there is that. So before we get into the offseason and all that sort of fun stuff, I do have a couple comments to go over. So the first one is from Nick Bucker Barnes OC, who says, should have watched the end of Game 7, kind of sabotaged the game by only watching the White Sox 9th inning push. Why was Lake so ass? Yeah, Dennis Lake really had a tough time closing out games in the playoffs, because there was the one game where basically they came back in where he gave up a couple runs, and all of a sudden it was like a tie game, and Ken Robert came in trying to get it to extra innings, but they managed to get a walk-off home run, and yeah, they ended up winning like 15-13, I think it was, in that game. It was really unfortunate, but yeah, Dennis Lake, I don't know what his performance is like in the postseason, like why it's this bad. I hope he has a better year next year, because this guy is obviously technically our best closer, and we technically did lock him up for a few years, so I hope that he's better next year. But if not, it's a little bit of a risk with having him as our closer. Like, I might have to turn to guys like Guzman and Robert more often than him to close out games, and maybe Lake is the setup guy instead. And then the last two final comments are from Michael Dose. The first one says, I love when you say the hitter swings and he walks. Cracks me up every time, because I vision a hitter swinging, but the umpire saying, I know you didn't mean to, so go ahead and take the walk. And yeah, it's because I'm not really used to commentating on MLB games with like playoff scenarios yet, so I'm just trying to think of what I'm saying. But yeah, he swings and he walks. It just sounds kind of strange, obviously, because obviously with a walk, you're not swinging, you're just like taking the walk instead. But for me, like, I'm trying to get myself used to commentating over MLB games, so it might sound a little strange, but obviously you guys kind of know what I mean. And the last comment from Michael says, I would have expected more out of Sixto and Cardenas in the playoffs. Not sure if they struggled because farther down the lineup. I don't really think they really struggled that much. Like, Sixto might have had a 264, which is way below his regular season total. But, I mean, he had 2 home runs and 8 RBIs, so I think he did pretty solid. And then you get to Ozzy. Ozzy maybe struggled a little bit more, but he did have 2 home runs as well. 3 RBIs is kind of low for him, so yeah, that's a little bit of a struggle. But he did score 8 runs. He had a 259 average, so yeah, they didn't necessarily light it up completely. But I think we at least showed that we don't necessarily have to rely on those 2 guys, because we had a bunch of other guys doing relatively well as well in the playoffs. Like Steiner was great, Bill O'Donnell was great, Ollie Gellman showed up, even Pinero. So even though those guys are lower in the lineup, I think they still did pretty solid, all things considered. Like, the only ones I didn't have that didn't have a good playoffs, I'd say, were Trevino, 222. He did have 4 RBIs, so at least that's solid. But I really was not sold on Jeff Pipp. Pipp only batted a 148, which is not good enough for a playoff scenario. So also, I didn't even mention the injuries we had in regular season. What happens if those never happen? So the injuries to Pineda and who was the other one? Morris. What if these injuries never happened? Do you think we would have gotten farther in the playoffs? Because Bill Pineda, he's not really a batting average type guy, but he does have some pop in his game. And you also have Brian Morris, who was relatively good as like a starting pitcher slash reliever for us. So if those two guys would have been in our lineup for the playoffs, do we have a better chance at winning a World Series? I don't know. But yeah, both their injuries are very, very bad, and hopefully they're back to full health next year and don't suffer any other injuries, because obviously Bill Pineda tore his Achilles tendon, which is not a great injury to have, and then Brian Morris had a head fracture, which is not good either, obviously, because all that important stuff is in your head, right? So yeah, hopefully those guys are back to full health for next year. So that way we have maybe a better chance at winning. But anyways, let's get into this offseason. I honestly don't know how much of these players that are up for renewal we're going to be able to keep, because we obviously probably don't have a ton of cap space. But I think our next season is going to be more really interesting, because we're going to have some good youngsters getting into our lineup. So let's see who ends up winning the World Series between the Diamondbacks and White Sox. Is it going to be, yeah, it's going to be the Diamondbacks who end up winning the World Series, as I was thinking, because that roster is just too good as they beat the White Sox. So we do not lose to the best team in baseball, as Arizona took them out in 6 games. So surprised that the White Sox actually able to get a couple games against them. But there you go. Arizona goes from wild card to World Series champion. I thought they were going to do it because they knocked out the Padres in the wild card, and they were just a really built team. So makes a lot of sense that they go on to win the World Series. So there we go. Let's actually take a look at those World Series, the World Series awards, I guess. So Carlos Gonzalez is the World Series MVP. And then postseason MVP on the AL side was Evan Carter for the White Sox. And then for Arizona, it was Alex Ramirez. So there we go. Let's get to the offseason. So we need a pitching coach and a farm director. Okay. We got to make sure we're getting some good people in for the coaching staff and all that. Jazz Chisholm retires, the cover athlete. No former players that I know of, but there could be randomly. But we're not losing players just yet. So there we go on the retirements. Nobody into the Hall of Fame in 2033. And here is the exclusive free agent negotiation stuff that we got to do. So we got Gelman, McAllister, and Schneider. I guess that means Pip. Wait, let me see Pip. Oh, Pip has ARB still. Okay. Well, that's at least good with Pip. And then also I think Todd Goss. Yeah, Todd Goss has another year of ARB as well. So at least we'll take those guys to arbitration. But these guys, this is our last chance to sign these guys. I don't know how much money we have, really. We have $49 million in budget. We do need to re-sign a bunch of other guys too. Do we keep all these guys around? I don't know about Gary. I think I might honestly let go Gary walk, because we do have other guys in the system. But Gary was okay this year. Depends on, I guess, their asking price. Ollie's, I think, the most important one to bring back. But he's also wanting the most amount. Like $12 million for a year. Because I don't think we really have an outfielder that could take his spot. That's the thing. Because Bill O'Donnell's obviously going to be playing. We have Bill Pineda still, who could technically take over for Ollie as a full-time center fielder. We technically do have the guys, because Josh Groves as well should be jumping up, but I kind of want to hold on to maybe Ollie for one more year, just because he came off a fantastic season. So we'll try and sign Ollie for a 1-year deal, but it is going to eat up a lot of our cap, I think. The only thing is about losing Steve Schneider. Can we afford to lose Steve Schneider? And I know we could afford to lose Gary, because we have other starting pitchers. Like, if we lose Gary, Pablo Silva's there, Osuna's there, Montero could come up too eventually, Sparbory. I mean, it wouldn't be bad to hold on to Gary for a year, but his asking price might be a little bit high. Well, Steve Schneider, we have Pip as the #1 third baseman. Let me see what all these guys are asking for. So we know that Gelman's asking for $12 million. Let's see. Gary's asking for 8. It's a bit high. It's a bit high. And I could tender a qualifying offer, but that's $23 million, which is kind of ridiculous. Gary is asking for 8. Actually, maybe it was Gary that was asking for 8. What is Steve asking for? Steve's not asking for that much. Okay. So I could do like a 1 to 2 year deal on Steve, potentially. Let's do a 2-year deal on Steve. That's an AAV of 6.4. Yeah, I think I'll do a 1-year deal with Steve. I mean, 6.1 is really not super outrageous for 1 year. I might have to let him walk at some point. But yeah, let's do a 1-year deal for Steve at 6.1. I'm okay with that. I think the one I'm going to let walk is Gary, though. If I have to choose between the bunch. 8.4 for a guy that's not doing... Like, the only thing is, I like how long he could go into games. Like, he's always a guy that pitches really long. Like, he's had a lot of games where he pitches complete games. 9 complete games in his career. But he is dropping off. He's 30 years old. We got guys in the system. But I want to hold on to Ollie Gelman as well. Kind of $12 million. What's the lowest I could get him for, potentially? Like 12.8 for a year. Yeah, I got to hold on to Ollie if I possibly can. That's already $18 million out of our $49 million in budget. So I feel like since we also do have to take some guys to arbitration. It's hard to let Gary go, kind of. But at the same time, I was not sold on his playoff performance. And with the guys in the system coming up. Because we even could change guys like Bobby Hyde, Sammy Gomez. Well, Sammy Gomez is already a starter, but Bobby Hyde we could change back to starter if we want to. Yeah, I think I'm going to let Gary walk. Because I think Osuna or Silva, those guys could take his spot. Yeah, I think we're going to let Gary walk here. It might be a little bit weird to let Gary walk. I don't know if it makes sense or not. Because I want to hold on to players as long as possible. Because obviously we have to now draft another player to replace Gary eventually. But yeah, we're going to let Gary walk. He's on the decline, I think, too. So it would be risky signing him for more than a season even. So yeah, we're going to let Gary walk. And let's get ourselves a pitching coach and a farm director because we need those. Try and find somebody decent. Let's go with this dude. And we also need a farm director. Looking for people with like very little minuses, like this guy. Perfect. Okay, let's sim to the first stage of free agency. So Pollard's accepted and Rosado's accepted. Let's stop the simulation for a sec. See if those guys accepted. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. So we got Ollie Gelman back for another year. Might be a bit pricey of a contract, but it's for only a year. But yeah, the only guy leaving us is Gary. So salute to Gary. And hopefully he finds himself on a good team. And maybe he actually performs good on another team. But this team, I don't see his him being in a spot where he could kind of succeed more. So we're going to leave him to free agency. Because we got a bunch of other players to re-sign and add to our 40-man. Because we got Pip, Robert, Rubel, and all those guys that were taking to arbitration likely this year. So, and then we got tendering contracts. We got our 40-man. There's a lot of stuff to do this offseason, and it's very important that we do it right because obviously we want to make the playoffs this year again. So we'll do another 1-year deal for Osuna, who should be in the MLB next year. Sparbori. Yeah, we'll give you what you're wanting. You might be in the MLB next year, too. Oh, Montero. That's more than a year you want that much. I don't think I could give you more than a year, though, man. You're kind of more like a minor league guy for me. So $700,000, you could accept that. Give Groves a contract. I want Groves kind of being in the MLB this season, so as a full-time player. We'll try and get all these guys re-signed. Some of them might be only on a 1-year deal. But hopefully we could keep this club together as possible. And hopefully the integration of some of the young pitchers from the minors will do good for us. Obviously it's going to be a little bit tough losing Gary at first, but it makes sense for our team to do that. Yeah, sure, 1-year deal. Why not? Oh, wow, Fletcher Hoffman, if you go over 5 years, he wants over $2 million. Not going to do that. I do need to hold on to Fletcher Hoffman just for the depth in the minors, so he's going to get $700,000. But, yeah, there's that. I also went ahead and adjusted player potential, so if you see any player potential changes, it's because of that. We could use Brad Thornton in the MLB, kind of. 4 years at 3.3 is not really that bad, especially if we end up using him as, like, a player in the MLB eventually. He's going to hit a lot of home runs with his power hitting. It's just he doesn't have a super high ceiling. So it's a bit of a risk, but you know what? Let's just give him that. Let's give him that. Why not? Let's get all these other guys signed up. Hopefully we have the money to sign these all, because this is important, obviously. Rodriguez and some of these guys I should probably just let go of because they're players I never drafted. So we're just going to hold on to the guys we drafted, I think, mostly. Yeah, because I don't want to sign all these random guys like Reggie Telshaw, for example. Because we're trying to hold on to only the players that we draft most of the time. Let's do a 1-year deal for William Halperin. Let's get that down a little bit. Sita, as well as that type of guy, we're going to just let walk because we didn't draft him. Because obviously we want our prospects getting the first dibs in the lineup, and I don't want guys that I didn't draft taking their spots, technically. So guys like Mikolas, we never drafted him, so he's gone. Dwayne Green, you're gone. We're just going to clean house of guys we didn't draft, basically. Oh yeah, there's also, isn't there somebody I'm supposed to sign in this offseason in free agency? I think there is, that we drafted, but he didn't sign with us. It's just been a bit since, obviously, we had an offseason because we had a long playoff run. I gotta look through the comments now of the old episodes while we get to this point, just so I could actually sign that guy for our system. Suevez needs to be signed again. Andy Black, I never drafted you. We have so much prospects at this point that it's kind of ridiculous, but hopefully a lot of them start getting some good development, because there's some of them that are taking their sweet ass time, but obviously we've drafted a lot of kind of project players, so that kind of makes sense. Lugo is ours as well. It's good that I kind of know which ones are ours and which ones aren't. Like Jimenez definitely isn't ours. He's 40 years old. Salvador Fernandez ain't either. Ackerman is. And Sammy Pugh is as well. Perfect. Okay, all those guys are offered. Pending offers, we have $12 million spent on that. We go to arbitration. This would be the last year of arb for Jeff Pipp. His power hitting is dropping off a lot. Jeez. Wow, okay. He's wanting $5 million plus a season. He's not... I like his RBIs, but I don't really like his average at all, so I don't think I could give him a multi-year deal. Let's offer arbitration. Let's just do what it normally is. Boom. Arbitration for Jeff Pipp. Ken Robert, what are you wanting? Is this your last year of arbitration? No, you have multiple years of arb. Okay. 5 years, $22 million is kind of a lot. So I'm just going to offer arbitration on all of these dudes, so we can hold on to them, hopefully. Doug Rubel, same type of boat. Actually, Doug Rubel was pretty good, wasn't he? Yeah, he was. But he could honestly just randomly drop off, and I don't trust that. So let's just give all these guys arbitration. Even Todd Goss, even though he's trash, I'm going to just offer arbitration for him. Whoa, actually 4.1. What is he wanting right now, out of curiosity? This guy thinks he's worth $5 million bucks. And he's 23 years old. Yikes. That's a lot of money to give to a guy like that. 1.4 for Buster Cross as well. I think I'm going to let go of Todd Goss. I know he's only 23, but... I am not sold on how good this guy has been. And then also, he kind of thinks he's worth a lot of money. He has only the 1 year left of ARB too. So I think I'm going to let him walk instead of offering him that $4 million bucks, because that $4 million is quite expensive. Like, the other guys are all making less. Like, Pip is even making less than Goss. So yeah, I think we're just gonna not offer Goss a contract, which might not be great considering he's a reliever, but honestly I don't know if he has really much of a home here anyways. So he's gone. We got to add some guys to our 40-man roster. Not gonna add Seguera because he's trash. Francisco, I should probably add. Rangel, I should probably add. And Davies, I should probably add. But we're almost at 40 people on a roster already, which is not great. So I definitely got to add Davies, I think, because I don't really want to lose him. We do have a lot of catchers on our 40-man, but I still will add them anyways to our 40-man roster. Ollinger, oh man, there's so many tough decisions too. Ollinger and Francisco definitely should be there. Ollinger for sure, because he's actually been a good guy. I might have to remove some people from our 40-man as well. Montenegro, not really sold on adding him yet. Tom Becker, obviously, we could let go of. Rangel and Francisco. I should probably add both of those guys as well. Yeah, let's add both those guys. Rangel and Francisco. Oh, we have a full 40-man roster. Who do we got to remove? Wait, why is Rafael Rodriguez on my 40-man? Oh, man. Okay, I got to remove Reggie Telshaw. First, get rid of Telshaw. We got to get rid of Fletcher Hoffman. Yeah, Fletcher Hoffman's going to be removed from the 40-man roster, which means he is going to go through waivers, but still, we got to remove him. Trying to think of who else I'd be okay with losing. Buster Cross. Let's see. Yeah, Buster Cross is technically like the third string guy. Got to make up some roster spaces, so let's remove Buster Cross as well. Oh yeah, we offered him salary arbitration now. Goddamn. Todd Goss is going to be gone, so we could remove him. Yeah. Yeah, we'll remove him because he's not going to be on our team. Andrew Franco, we could remove you because you're not even going to be signed anymore. Gustavo Dominguez is getting offered another contract, so he's going to be still staying there. Okay. Yeah, we're at a territory where it's tough to let players go off of this list. I don't know why Rodriguez is already there. Oh well. So we want to add Francisco. Yeah, we want to add Ron Francisco as well to here because we don't want him to get taken yet. And let's see, anybody else? Castellano has the potential to becoming something decent, but still. Yeah, I think that's going to be it. Perfect. Okay, so that's all nice and set up, and we are just basically losing Goss to free agency. Now I need to find out who that player is that we basically drafted, and I wasn't able to sign him. I think one of you guys reminded me. Oh yeah, sign De Silva. I have to actually watch my episode here to try and find out what type of player he was again, because I honestly don't remember. So we got to sign De Silva. I feel like he was an outfielder, but I could be wrong. Maybe he was a second or third baseman. Actually, let me not open my video. Let me open up I have a spreadsheet I've been using to keep track of who I've drafted. Let's see. Do I have it year 11? Yes, I do. Okay, he's a center fielder. Juan de la Silva. Okay. Juan de la Silva. Let's go to free agency and see if he's there, which he should be. Juan de la Silva. He's probably low on the bottom of this list somewhere. I don't even know his potential yet, so that's going to be interesting. He's a C potential only at 50 overall. He's not really that great, to be honest, but we'll sign him since we drafted him. Might as well. Maybe he'll become something, but still not really a great player, but at least we dodged a bullet, I guess, when we drafted him. So there is that. Let's advance to free agency 2. And we'll see where some of our former players are signing, because obviously Gary McAllister is a free agent. So Detroit claimed Reggie Telshaw. Not that that matters because we didn't draft him. Franco was claimed by Milwaukee because we didn't draft those guys, so I don't give a shit. Let's stop the sim for a sec. I don't know if any of our players are still in free agency, right? Let's see. Our salary arbitration guys, they can't get offers from other teams while we have them in ARB anyways, so that's good. I do want to see if Gary's still in free agency. Let's see. Yep, he's still in free agency. He has no offers currently. If his asking price drops, we could always bring him back, but right now it's not looking likely. These guys are still tenured. They should be all accepting hopefully soon. A lot of these guys are just players I never drafted, so that's okay. We're just waiting on Helper and Chu, Thornton, Almont, and Cora, which they all should be accepting relatively soon, so that's good. Let's see. So those guys are still good. Oh yeah, Brad Thornton's still considering that contract we gave him. $3.3 million for 4 years. I hope he accepts that because that power hitting, I think he should be in the MLB next year as a full-time guy. We could always change Sixto back out to the outfield if we really want to, but I mean, Brad Thornton is a power hitting guy, like a DH. I think that's a good option for our team to sign him for 4 years. He might not have the potential, but he has the pop. So let's go to the next stage of free agency. We'll probably see soon when Gary signs somewhere, if he actually does sign somewhere. Yeah, let's stop the sim again. Let me just take a look at free agency, see if Gary is still there. He is, and he still has no offers. I wonder if he's even going to get a contract offer from another team. These guys are still pondering the contracts, and everybody else doesn't matter that much, so it's just Almont and Thornton. These guys are all in arbitration, which is good. So that means Todd Goss is hit to the free agent market now, I think. Yep, he is head to the free agent market. We'll see where he signs, if he signs anywhere. So that's all set up. Rosado, nobody important. We're just looking for former players. No, thank you. Let's see. They're probably still in the free agent pool, my guess. No, Gary McAllister must have signed somewhere. He is gone. So shout out to Gary for signing somewhere, and also Todd Goss has signed somewhere. Let's take a look at where those guys signed, because might as well. So let's look up Gary first, because Gary's obviously the more important one. It might be a little bit weird to let those guys walk already, but I think they're easily to be replaced because we could always just draft more pitchers. So Gary has signed with the Dodgers on a 3-year deal, making 7.9. See, I mean, it was a little bit less than what we could have probably offered him, but he's going over to, I think, to the NL. I think the Dodgers are in the NL. I think so. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that. So there is he. He is gone. And Todd Goss, where did you go? To the Houston Astros. Huh. So he's gone to Houston. We'll see what those guys could do. What is he making? 4.5. A little bit pricey for a 71 overall, in my opinion, but he is a reliever, so I guess that makes sense. So there we go on that. Let's get to the rest of the stuff. We don't obviously have a draft. We won't be like in the draft lottery situation, but still going to find that out on who wins the lottery. Let's sim to the Roll 5 draft. We do also have to make our pick in that. We do have the draft lottery now. Let's just take a look and see who ends up winning it. Phillies have the best odds, and they already have that crazy guy that's going to make his MLB debut next season in Ned Thompson. Tigers also have good odds, and the Guardians. Let's see who ends up winning the draft lottery. Obviously, we're going to just stay right where we were because we were a playoff team. So, but I'm still curious on who's end up going to win this. So the Tigers moved to number 1. So Detroit has won the lottery. Then it's the Guardians, the Cubs, the Yankees, the Reds. The Phillies fall from 1 all the way to 6. Damn. 3 teams that had under like a 1% or less jumped up. Yankees jumped up 11 spots. Cubs jumped up 9 spots. Same with the Reds. It's crazy. And we're drafting number 28 this year, which is going to be interesting to see if we're actually able to find some good players that late in the draft, because we've never drafted that late before, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what we could get at that spot. So first we got the Rule 5 draft. I don't know if we're going to take anybody in it, but we might as well take a look and see if there's anything interesting. Let's go to recommended player. It recommends us a pitcher, which I don't really know if it makes sense. He's 37 as well. Like, a lot of these guys are pretty damn old. Vernon Kelly. Yeah, I don't know if Vernon Kelly really makes any sense. Let's just go through the rest of these guys. Relievers. We could always use an actual... Like, we don't actually have a lot of relief pitchers. We could use another one, potentially. Like, this guy's almost like the same type of thing as Todd Goss, but a little bit older. Good hits per 9, good Ks a 9, good home runs a 9. It's just his... yeah, it's decent, actually. His stamina is very low, though, which means he's a very short reliever. Okay, guys, so at this point in the episode, for some reason, my Elgato randomly froze, so I will show you guys what ended up happening after the Rule 5 pickup. So we basically end up taking that guy I was just looking at, Johannesburg, with our pick, so he is going to be one of the guys on first base behind Ozzy Cardenas, so more of a bench type of role. But yeah, basically this is what our team is looking like going into the season. Obviously, we should probably add Osuna to our 40-man roster and call him up likely for our rotation. But you can see our rotation, I think, is improving quite a bit because likely we have Howe, Hyde, Silva, Osuna, and I'd say probably like Morris or Sparbori, somebody like that. Some of them will be getting used as relievers, but I'm not exactly sure on who yet. We also have Birch and Rubel. Then on our closers, we have Lake, Guzman, and Robert. So those are going to be our closer slash setup guys. Then we head to the catchers. Obviously, we got Sixto, and we got the power hitting Brad Thornton. So I'm excited to see what he could do off the bench again this year because this guy is a very good power hitter, and that's why I locked him up on this 4-year deal at $820,000 because I think this guy definitely has it in him to potentially get some home runs for us off the bench. Likely we send Halpern and Davies back down to double and triple A because obviously we need them to develop a little bit more before they're actually in the MLB. First baseman wise, we got Ozzy still, and we got Johannes Berg as I mentioned. Michael Chu likely goes back down to triple. Kellenberger might get relegated to double A just because they might need a first baseman. Second base wise, we got Trevino and Carrillo. And then we head to third base, we got Pip and Schneider still. And then we head to shortstop, Pinheiro, McMahon, and Buster Cross. There is a chance Buster Cross might get sent back down to AAA again because obviously we got McMahon and Pinheiro to worry about. And soon enough, maybe Howard Springer will be in the MLB, which is good because obviously we drafted him last year. Then we head over to left field. You can see we have Gary Steiner and Carlos Suarez, so obviously one of our better prospects. Center fielding, we still got Gentleman. Pineda is going to be back, which is great. And we also have Josh Groves, who should be in the MLB full-time next season because of his playoff performance. We definitely need to hold on to him. And he likely will get a better opportunity once Ollie Gentleman leaves his team, but I wanted to hold on to Ollie for at least one more season. Right fielding-wise, we got O'Donnell and also Rafael Rodriguez, who's likely going to be relegated to AAA just so we could at least have a prospect down there. And he's not really ready yet to take that step, I don't think. So there is our roster. But yeah, I think our team's going to be pretty good this season. We're currently ranked as the 8th best team, 6th in contact, 11th in power, 7th in pitching, 22nd in speed, or in defense, 6th in speed. So I don't know how it's going to be at the actual start of the season, but we definitely should be a pretty good team again this year. Obviously, losing Gary and whatnot might make a little bit of a difference, but I hope that this team could do better than they did last year. Final few things I want to show you guys. Obviously, the contract extensions. We do have some big contracts to dish out in the next episode or during the offseason, but Ozzy is the big one because I know you guys say he's the fan favorite. What do we do with him in terms of contracts? Do we go more than 5 years so his asking price drops more, or do we keep him to a 5-year deal because he's already 28 and give him like the $20 million plus he's asking for a year? Because obviously he's one of our best players in the series and it would make sense to hold on to him long term. Guzman's also up for renewal, but he still has, I believe, a couple of years of ARB and all that, so that's good. Ollie Gentleman's pending free agent, same with Pip, so these guys might end up heading to the free agent market because other teams could sign them. Bobby Hyde is up for renewal, but I believe he still has, a lot of years of ARB, which is good. Same with Ken Robert and a lot of these other guys, but Schneider's also a pending free agent, I believe. Let me double check that. Yeah, he's a pending free agent. We also have Jack Birch, who's a pending free agent. He's a great reliever for us. Bill O'Donnell's a pending free agent. So there's a lot of big guys that will need to be re-signed, at least in the next few episodes. So Ozzy's obviously the most important one. But yeah, this is going to be interesting to see if we're able to keep most of these guys on the roster. So there's that. And final thing, I will show you guys the top prospects in the MLB. We have quite a bit of players making some representation. Carlos Suarez at number 9. We also have Howard Springer at number 11. Carmen Osuna at number 12, who should be in the MLB this season, so I'll probably have them to our 40-man roster soon. We also have Kobayashi at number 21, Fletcher Sanchez at 27, and Johnny Almont at number 29. So we have 6 prospects in the top 30, which is pretty crazy. So there's all that. Also, the Phillies guy is not number 1 anymore because he's already going to be an MLB player. Luther Kurtz is currently the best prospect in baseball according to this game. But I will show you guys quickly what that Phillies guy looks like now, Ned Thompson, because we might as well keep some tabs on him. But you can see this guy's going to be an 87 overall in his first full season. He was playing mostly in AAA last year, I think it was. But last year, actually, he managed to come in for 51 games near the end of the season, I guess, during September call-ups. He was batting at 300. Imagine if we would have been able to draft that guy on top of our current roster. That would have been absolutely insane. Because this guy still has like a long time before he heads to the free agent market. It would have been amazing having this guy. Because imagine having him over somebody like Jeff Pipp or Schneider. So we would have had like our main guy. And we probably would have won a World Series already by this point. Or even this coming season we would win one. So yeah, that's a really nice player, obviously. But there is that. Thought I'd just show you guys that. And I think that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, I'll also show you guys quickly the depth chart. I think we're starting to like make some headway a little bit. You can see if we're able to keep our roster together, we'll probably have a really good pitching rotation next season. And obviously it depends on the rest of our outfielding and all that. But I think we're going to start to have a really good team soon in terms of the playoffs. Obviously we just made it to the ALCS, but who knows, maybe we can make it to the World Series in these next few years as well. But also based on this depth chart, what do you guys think we should be looking at for a like a player to draft this year? Because we're drafting late into the first round this time around, right? So we're not guaranteed to get ourselves a super good prospect, but what do we really need? Because we could obviously target some areas that like maybe there's players that are pending free agents like Schneider and Pipp. They're both pending UFAs or free agents, whatever you call them. So do we look for maybe a third baseman prospect? Because that's something we could probably look for. We do have Kobayashi, but he's kind of still a long shot. So I honestly don't know what we kind of need to draft. But I obviously want to draft some good things because obviously if we don't draft good and our prospect pool and our current roster starts to diminish, then we're not going to be that good of a team and we're going to start going back into rebuild status. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Vancouver Rain Draft to Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to spring training and the start of the season. We'll start simulating, obviously, some of the season. And we will also be scouting out the upcoming draft, which hopefully is a good draft for us. And hopefully we could find a steal somehow late. Because obviously, like I said, we need those prospects to just make sure. Because if we lose somebody like, say, like Ozzy Cardenas randomly in the next few years, we want to have those players that could take over for him once he is gone, like from retirement or free agency or wherever players go, right? So anyways, link down below, and I'll see you guys next time.